Hey, shalom, shalom. All praise, glory, and honor be unto Yahweh Bahashemi Habashai Bahashim Rakakadash. Peace and double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom, and to the elect. Get into another lesson in transit. I've been meditating on this topic based off some videos I've been seeing in the media, social media. You know, the internet. I see why. I don't know if it was Rockefeller, one of them elites, said that they wish that they never made the internet because, man, even with all of the, they have a lot of censorship and things. It's like it's still pouring out. The floodgates is pouring out on this man's kingdom. Shameful spewing, right? Shameful spewing is upon his kingdom. And every day I wake up and go online, I'm seeing videos about slavery, about I saw a video yesterday about, or matter of fact, it might have been today or yesterday, about picnics, how they used to make it an event where they used to lynch a so-called black man, an Israelite. Okay. And it was just pure hatred, man. Pure hatred. And that's why the book of Obadiah was written. Okay. That's why there is a book of Obadiah. And that's one book that these people don't want to, most Christians have never even heard of the book of Obadiah. Here it is. It's only one chapter. All right. And that goes to show you it ain't about the length of the book, because that one chapter speaks volumes, man. All right. That one chapter is a deep and heavy chapter, man. All right. And it tells you about the downfall of Esau Edom, the so-called white man, and what's going to become of him for his violence against his brother Jacob, man. And who is Jacob? You so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right. You are the Israelites. We are the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. Okay. So for thy violence against thy brother Jacob. Okay. And when you look at history, you could plainly see who is Esau and who is Jacob. Okay, who has ruled by the sword? Who has ruled by military conquest? Who has subjugated the earth by means of the sword? Esau, Edom. See, when you look at the history, when Solomon was in the power seat, the other nations were voluntarily coming to him with gifts just to learn of his wisdom, which we know that was Yahushua, the one they call Christ. His real name is Yahushua. In the ancient, in his past life, he was King Solomon. He reincarnated as the Lord, as the Savior, as the one they call Jesus. His real name is Yahushua. All right. And he's a so-called black man from the tribe of Judah. But when he was in his power seat as King Solomon, all right, the Queen of Sheba, different nations, they came voluntarily. So that goes to show that we didn't have to rule by the sword. Now, there was certain warfare that had to be waged because the heathen, why did the heathen rage? Okay, the heathen, King David had to put and subjugate the heathen because they were wilding out. All right. And, they were worshiping idols, and they had to be. But once Solomon was in, there was 40 years of peace under his reign. Okay. And, the heathen, they wanted to be under Solomon's rulership. If you're a righteous ruler, the people will desire to be your subjects. That's not the case with Esau. That's not the case with the so-called white man. He has shameful spewing and hatred against every act that he's doing because he's the wicked. Everything he's done is upside down. Okay? Everything in his history is getting exposed, man. So everything this man been doing is getting exposed in a big way. All right? And again, this is why there's going to be a famine of the word, because when there's various information out there that you can piece together and see that this man is the wicked that the Bible speaks of, that they are the Edomites. But when you come to us, you get the whole package. You get the whole view of it. You break down everything concerning who this man is. And that's what a lot of you Jakes don't understand, that this man, that these are the biblical Edomites, your enemy. This is a biblical ancient hatred, and it goes back to Cain and Abel. Okay? When you can wrap your mind around that, then you'll understand why things are the way that they are in this world currently. If you don't understand who the Israelites are or who the Edomites are, you're not going to be equipped to um, break down the Bible. You got to know the history to know the mystery, right? And part of the mystery is that the history has been concealed. It's been hidden. Okay? So part of the revelation that the Lord gave us in these last days through our apostles, through the men that preceded us in the faith, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, is motherfuckers drive like they ain't got no sense, man. It's lucky. I'm trying to be peaceful, man. I'm trying to keep my cool, but people really are fucking retarded out here, man. These people just gotta die, man. There's no, they're just taking up space, man. These people are straight retarded, man. I seen a video of a dude. I know I'm getting sidetracked. It's all the spirit. I seen a video of a dude in a Ram truck, knowing that it's snowing, it was icy out. He's taking a turn, going 60, in like a 25-30 zone, and he's smashed into a telephone pole like an asshole. And you see these people on the road, man. They're always in a rush to go somewhere, But anyways, going back to what I was talking about. All right, the history that they have hidden, okay, now that it's been exposed, they have no choice but to have a famine of the word, to cut this word off, because this is where you get the whole truth. This is where the brightest light, there's a lot of light that's being exposed and shined on this man's odious works, the crimes of Esau, man. And I think back in the days, a few years ago, there was a series of videos of the crimes of the Edomites, and brothers was just going to all these different things that they did. We should bring that back, Lord's will, because now's the time when your enemy is down. That's the best time to hit him. Kick a man while he's down. You damn right. I'm gonna kick him while he's down. What did they do to us, man? Okay, they kicked us while we was down, so it's only right. And ultimately, all we're doing is exposing their works. We're not going to recompense evil for evil, in the sense of, when we have the rulership, we're not going to be doing these nasty, sick things that they did, buck breaking and separating families and different things. We're going to rule righteously, all right? And it's going to be worse than anything you could have done to us, because we're going to have spiritual power, all right? With the blink of an eye, just melt your face off, man, with spiritual power, laser beams. Anyways, this man's crimes has been exposed. All right. That's 2 Ezra 16. What will you do? How will you hide your sins? Because the truth is coming out, the light, the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. This is the that exposed the purpose of this man's wickedness, man. All right. Having to look at people like, are you a dumbass driving? Are you an NPC? Are you a fucking AI driver or some shit? Because these people just be swerving. Ain't nobody around them. Slacking, man. I keep getting sidetracked, but it's just crazy out here, man. People on all types of fucking prescription pills and shit. I don't know what the fuck they doing. If you 97, it might be time to hang up the wheel. That lady looked like a straight Tales of the Crypt keeper, man. Driving the car, swerving, about to kill somebody, kill herself. Anyways, that's all a part of Esau's kingdom anyways, man. And most of you people ain't gonna have access to this level of transportation in our kingdom, man. All right, you're gonna have to take your ass and walk or get an old-fashioned chariot. But we gonna have technology, We're gonna have technology, man. We're gonna have the highest form of technology. And ultimately, it's just gonna be to show off anyways. It's just going to be to show the glory of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai anyways, because, we're going to have the ability to fly. We're going to have the ability to do all types of things. But, everything with the Lord is done with style and grace, man. So, when we are in our rulership seat, it's just going to be infinitely times better than this current world that you're experiencing, man. But there's one particular video I want to get to, and I'm not going to be too long-winded because I know I'm on the road. I'm just quoting precepts off of what I remember. or brother, if you to post some things, I'll read them to the best of my ability. But there's this one particular video of a dude, big ugly Edomite, and the dude was saying that basically, slavery, the way that it's taught, because that's the narrative. El Wamba has been going into this a lot about the Christian white male narrative, that they're the victim now and they've been getting the short end of the stick. But here it is, you subjugated the whole world. You don't want to focus on none of the evil shit that you fucking crackers did here, man. You don't want to focus on none of this shit that you did. Sure, slavery has been done throughout the world, but the way that you did it here, there's a couple points I want to address on that, but the way that you did it here was just sick and twisted, man. Alligator bait. And that was his point, that basically, many different empires has done slavery. Of course. Every empire that's going to be in power, they're going to have slaves. That's a fucking no-brainer. Stupid, but you built the biggest empire that rules the world off the backs of the children of Israel. We're not just anybody, any people. All right? And that's what these people can't understand. Not everybody was created equal. The Israelites are greater than the rest of the nations. That's according to the Bible. So at some point, you mean to tell me that the Lord made us equal to the nations? Somewhere along the line, even though in Deuteronomy 7:6 it says that we're above them, but then all of a sudden now we're equal, or the heathen have started catching up to us. It don't make no damn sense, man. The scripture says in Malachi, the 3rd chapter, that the Lord changed not, therefore you sons of Jacob are not consumed. See, the Lord said he don't change. So the sons of Jacob are not consumed. There's so many scriptures about the Israelites. The scriptures was written by the Israelites for the Israelites, man. Really by the hand of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua through the Holy Spirit, ultimately through his people. That's his voice, his mouthpiece, the prophets, man. That's it. That's the one. Deuteronomy 7:6, without art and holy people unto Yahweh thy God have chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. That's it. So when did that change? When was that done away with? The Lord said what? That I did not come, he did not come to do away with the law, but to fulfill it. All right? Apostle Paul said what? That we established the law. If it didn't matter who's an Israelite and who isn't, why did Paul mention that he's from the tribe of Benjamin? Why did he tell King Agrippa that this was a promise for the 12 tribes? That's why he was accused of the Jews. Because the Jews is not the whole nation of Israel. The Jews was a certain section, all right, that had been in the land, that were keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, and they did not want to allow those that had become foreigners to the commonwealth, which I believe it says that in one of Paul's letters, might be Ephesians. All right, if you could bring that up. Strangers to the commonwealth, or aliens to the commonwealth. Meaning what? You were once a part of the nation, and then you went astray. So Yahweh came to bring all of the 12 tribes back in. That's why he said, go not but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And then Christians in their delusion, they'll say, well, that was just at that moment, at that moment he was, but no, the Lord set it forth. Why would he say that? And then, well, later on, I'm saying that now, but then later on, I'm going to have Paul come and we're going to bring in these heathens, but people see the word Gentile and they don't even look into the Greek of what it means. All right. It just means among the multitude of people. When you look at ethnos. Okay. Because the Israelites are scattered into the multitude of people. Yep. That's the one. Oh, that's a good one too. 1 Peter 2:9. But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood and holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should shew forth the praise of him who have called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Okay, a chosen generation, a royal priesthood and holy nation, a peculiar people. Who does that apply to? That's Israel, man. Look at how our people are, man. We're the best at everything, man. When it comes to sports, all right? When it comes to anything, man. All the great inventions, You know, it's all Israel, man. Salt of the earth, man. Okay, holy nation. See, this is Ephesians 2:12. That at that time you were without Hamashiach, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of promise. Who is the covenants of promise for, man? Let's be for real. Covenants of promise were for the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, man. Point blank, period. Ain't no getting around it, man. Okay? And the way that the scriptures is written, it is a mystery. It is a stumbling block. Because if you don't have understanding when you read it, you would think that it's talking about the heathen. But the Holy Spirit has guided us into understanding, and we know to not give something that is profitable unto us into a strange nation. That's Baruch the 4th chapter. All right? These scriptures are written in our spirit, man. And there's nothing they can do to take it away from us, you know? Having no hope and without God in the world. You see, that's what happened to our people. And I got sidetracked. I ended up going into the Israelite foreigners topic, but that's all part of it too. Because they want to include Edomites. Meanwhile, look at the things that they've done to us, man. Oh, there was one really good video, man, that I saw. I'm a little bit all over the place, so forgive me. But there was another good video I saw where it was the dude that goes on, he's a Jake, so-called black man, Southern Kingdom, like Judah, could be Benjamin or Levi, but he was on the news channel talking about this little girl that would not stand up for the national anthem. And there was an Edomite commentator that was like, well, if you don't like that, why are you here? Why did you brought us here? And then you're asking, why are we here? You brought us here to be slaves, man. Now we're stuck. Now you have a system where we got to have passports and this and that and all this other shit. And you got to have money just to leave. You know, if you was going to complain about that, you should have left us where we was at and build your kingdom up your damn self. But it would have never been as great. It would have never been great, period, without Israel, man, without using us to build up your kingdom. So the dude was like Francis Scott Key, the one who wrote the national anthem. In the third verse, he's talking about basically putting hell on slaves because he was a slave owner. So why are you trying to pressure us? And then he said, if it was a thing about, I'm gonna use the code lingo, but to small hats in Germany, would you expect them to sing a song that's disrespecting them? Of course not. And the dude was like, yeah, well, if it was in Germany, like, shut up, man. They tell you to go up there and talk about not being anti-Semitic, you're gonna do what the fuck they tell you to do. Because you American Edomites, you're a slave to the Amalekite, which pisses them off, man. Because here it is, this is supposed to be your glory. And they know their time is just about up. The American empire is falling, and that is a scary prospect for them because it's like, well, what comes next? This is the end all be all. Then you got these prophets telling them that their time is up, that they're going into slavery. Yeah, it's a terrible time. Back then it was, you were enjoying it. It was a good time to be an Edomite, right? When you were doing picnics, lynching us and writing to your family and friends about how fun it was to see us in pain and to murder us, to destroy us. It was fun. But now that the proverbial chickens have come home, all right, now you got to pay for your odious works, man, for your iniquity, for the hell that you put upon Jacob. Okay, now you have to pay, and now it ain't so cool, right? That's why it says in Wisdom of Solomon, which is concerning the Egyptians, because they had oppressed us, which you are the modern day Egyptians. You so-called white people are the modern day Egyptians. And it says that wickedness is very timorous, which always stays stuck in my mind because it's heavy, because it's true. You have a guilty conscience, you do wicked ass shit, man, especially oppressing the Lord's holy people. So they have a guilty conscience, and they always constantly, timorous means basically, trembling or afraid. And, knowing what they've done, that's why they always basically trying to be on the offensive to defend their lives because they know that they'll have to defend all of the shit that they've done. So they're always trying to point the finger at us. All right, but who brought us here? Who put us in these fucked up conditions? Our people were not at the level that they're at now, at the horrible, horrible level that they're at now. All right, during the 50s and 60s, before segregation, when it was the time of segregation, all right, we were doing better off. Once we got integrated into your society more, it became worse for us. And then you set up a whole system to destroy us, man. You have sellouts to push music that destroys our youth. Okay, you put poison everywhere where we at. You flood the hood with guns and drugs, and then we just gonna act like this shit just happened by accident. But that's why they want to destroy that history, because the history exposes how we got to this point. They just want to focus on the now without looking at the roadmap to how we got here, how they set traps all along the way, basically funneled us into this current state that we're in. And Jake is going to pay for what they've done, because they went along with it, But Esau, you're going to have to pay. You're going to have to pay. You are going to pay, and the wicked of our people are going to pay. But there's an elect remnant, and that's the last thing he was expecting to see, the elect remnant being raised up, all right, that's going to repent to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai and come back into the understanding and come back into their right mind, all right? Because it's easy when we're all doing this, wickedness to just point the finger, but when there's those amongst us that are in our right mind, because not every Jake is like that, man. That's just what they portray, but you meet Jake, there's all different types of Jakes, man. It's not just one way, but that's what they wanted it to be, that this is the only way you could be. There's a handful of things you can be, but our people are not just one thing. Israel can be great at many things, man. And you meet a lot of different types of Jakes with different personalities, Israel's a beautiful people, man, even though they're in the lowest state, we just need to get out of here, man. We need Yahushua to come get us. But I wanted to focus on one more thing. Let's see if this brother got. Yep. Oh, that's a good one too. The accuser of our brethren. Yeah. Revelation 12:10. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now has come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his anointed, for the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. Who's that? Okay, that's not the spiritual demon Satan. Okay, that's Esau, Edom. Okay, the wicked. You see, and it's not like Esau is not mentioned in the New Testament. Paul said that Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated. Why would he mention that? When having a letter to the Romans, people don't find that to be interesting. It's just a coincidence, right? No, there is no coincidence with Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, man. All right. He's accusing us, man. And what is that word? Categoreo. So what does that mean? To categorize you, to put you in a box of what you can be. And now the box is, well, you're a Muslim extremist, you're this, you're that. Even though we're telling them, they get very agitated when we go step outside the box of what they try to make us, That's one thing I realized about Esau, like us being Israelites, coming into our heritage, we have these garments, brothers are upright, they hate that. And they hate that, we're in our right minds, and they hate that we're not in the box of what they put. But you're not a Muslim? You must be a Muslim, because then it's easier for him to accuse you. You see, and that's why Elder Atazawam and the brothers, Elder Alayashai, you had Elder Shai, you had the other brothers in the camp, the Jersey camp of Men of Valor, and an agent came up last Saturday. I was watching the live, but I started watching after that happened, so I went back and watched it. And basically, he was trying to sow division. The dude that came up, a damn devil. And what he did was he said, oh, well, y'all are not Muslim or Islamic or something like that. But that's what they always try to do, man. They always try to lump us in that box. Okay, they always try to lump us in that box because it's easier for them to put that accusation, because they've already spent billions, if not trillions of dollars to make Islam the boogeyman. So if they can lump you in with that, oh, well, you have a beard. That means, but people are very simple-minded, so they see a beard and their mind goes somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? It just, even if we're telling them, nah, we're not, we're not into that doctrine. We don't follow that doctrine. We're the ones who cut that doctrine the most, because we do it from the Bible and show you how the Islamic doctrine is all bullshit. And it's just another branch of the Catholic Church. And it was set up in order to create more division. And it's just a bootleg GMO, off-brand, fugazi imitation of the Bible. Okay? The Bible came first, and the Bible is the only 100% book of truth. The greatest book ever written. The greatest story ever written. All right, where's the Islamic prophets that's prophesying of what's going on? You're not dancing to their tune, you're dancing to our tune, which is really Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai's tune, the new song being sung. All right? So, that's why they got to try to lump us in. Islam. They keep doing that. Even as we're telling them in their head, they're like, yeah, he's just lying. He really is a Muslim, and he's just lying and saying he's an Israelite. Or saying they don't even understand this thing, man. Okay? For you to be an Israelite or a so-called Jew of what they consider, you got to be wearing the weird hats and the weird all black. Like that's what a lot of the world looks at as being of the chosen. But that's just darkness, man. They're the chosen. They're the chosen to be wicked. When you see them, they stand out because they have a very dark aura about them. We have a bright aura about us, man. You see? Through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahshua Hashem Dash, man. I'm gonna read this real quick. And I wanted to address that other video. Lord's will, we could get I could do another sit down, not an in transit, but a sit down about it. But I wanted to get into the video about the dude saying that slavery happened in many different places. In America, they only act like slavery happened here and blah blah blah. The thing about it is this: slavery could have happened in every other nation, and it did happen in many other nations. Okay, but taking a people across a whole ocean, all right, across from the eastern world to the western world, the transatlantic slave trade is a unique thing that happened in history. First of all right, you took a whole nation of people, all right, and you genocided the inhabitants that were living in the land, which are also they are the brothers of the people that you enslaved, because the Native Americans are the tribe of Gad and Reuben. Okay, and the other Northern Kingdom tribes, all right, Ephraim being the Puerto Ricans, Manasseh being the Cubans, okay, many different tribes, Issachar being the so-called Mexicans, all right, all those different tribes, the indigenous people of the Americas, you subjugated them, and then on top of it, you took their brothers from a whole nother side of the world and brought them here, and this is the chosen people of the Most High. That's what you don't seem to understand. You could have done it to the Moabites. You could have done it to the Ammonites, the Ishmaelites. The Ishmaelites took part in our slavery as well, though. All right, you could have done it to the Hamites, but when you did it to the Lord's people, that's where you really fucked up. And that's what he doesn't understand. This is Ezekiel 35:1. Moreover, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. Mount Seir represents Edom. All right, and say unto it, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am Yahweh. Yeah, you're going to know that the Lord, you're going to know the Lord, you're going to know Yahweh, you're going to know Yahweh Shai when he brings that judgment, when he makes you desolate, and that's going to be by the way of the ICBMs. And why? Well, in the 5th verse, we get into reason. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. You see? And when that happened, that was during the ancient Babylonian captivity. All right, they let me see if I can find a precept. It says that they were the ones. I turn right to the page of Spirit. Matter of fact, second Ezra. I need first Ezra. First Ezra 4. This is what the Edomites did when we were, when our iniquity had an end at that time. First Ezra 4:45, thou also hast vowed to build up the temple which the Edomites burned when Judea was made desolate by the Chaldees. So we want to talk about kicking a man while he was down. That's what they did to us. They burned our temple while we were going into captivity under the Babylonians. All right. Ezekiel 35:5. I'll read it again. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, a never-ending hatred, a hatred of old is what it says here, and has shed the blood, okay, of the children of Israel by the force of the sword. Who's their blessing is the sword, okay, in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. And they did that then. They did it during the time of the Greeks. They did it during the time of the Romans. They did it during the transatlantic slave trade. They're doing it up until this very day. And now they're doing it to where they're poisoning us with these technocrats. You had another video up of the AI processing centers, and it was just billowing out these big clouds of toxic smoke, man. When I first saw the video, I glanced at it, for the first second or two, I'm thinking it was like some kind of T attack that happened. I'm thinking somebody blew some shit up. Turns out it was just the AI processing center, and it had all these big columns of smoke going up to the heavens. And they don't talk about that. They don't talk about how everything they're doing is going to destroy the earth. They don't talk about that. How, everything they're doing is defiling everything and creating cancer and death. They don't talk about that. They're just talking about how, you'll be able to open the door with your hand. This is the backwards nature of this kingdom. But I'm gonna close out with this. Revelation 11:18. And the nations were angry, and our wrath is come in the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. Okay, destroy them which destroy the earth. Okay, and clearly you could look around this globe right now and see, if you have any sense, if you have two brain cells to rub together, you could see that the so-called white man, the biblical Edomites, they are the ones that are responsible for defiling this earth, man. And this is the message that they want to get rid of. All right. And that's why they are doing their best to take this, take the internet down, or, put it to where it's a very high level of censorship. All right. Lock it down, basically, because the floodgates of this truth is making them look horrible, man. And it's not just us. Other people are exposing their wicked works, man. You got their own people exposing their works. Their tongue shall fall upon themselves. All right. So that's why soon they're going to make it to where you have to provide an ID just to have a YouTube channel. Okay. And they're just going to continue to tighten up that grip. All right. But we know it's all prophecy, and we embrace it. That's why they got to be scared more, because every time they make a move that they think is going to be a one up on us, we're celebrating it. We're celebrating it because it's another step towards you walking off that cliff. It's another step towards your demise. Every time you tighten that grip up, it's like, okay, now the Lord about to do something to you. When you come for us, that's when the Lord is going to make his move on you. So go ahead and do it. That's got to scare you, that there's men out here that are claiming to be in the spirit of the Lord, which we're not just claiming that we are in the spirit of the Lord, but from their eyes, right? They're claiming to be in the spirit of the Lord and are telling them of their doom and their demise, and they're not afraid of you. You see? They're not afraid of what you're doing. Everything you're doing, they're encouraging you to do what you're doing. So doesn't that make you question your whole plan? But because of his pride, he's just going to keep going with it. He's already invested in it, man. Look at how much they invested in AI, man. It's too late. They're already in the snare, man. They're already in that trap, which Yahweh Hashem Yahushua set for them, man. He's hard. Pharaoh's heart is being hardened once again. Esau's heart is hardened. That's a lesson right there, man. But I'm gonna go ahead and close this out. Lord, will you edify? All praise be unto Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua Bahashem Machak Wadash. Hey, Lord's will I catch you on the next one. Shalom.